Hey there, listener. Have you been wanting more wealth, more love, more pleasure? What if the key to experiencing more of all of life's pleasures was actually increasing your nervous system and your body's capacity to hold success and love and joy and pleasure, right? We have a very special conversation for you today. Myself and Danelle Gallo, who is a trauma informed somatic coach who guides mystical, ambitious women to expand their nervous system's capacity. Her approach is rooted in recognizing that true transformation happens when we connect with our physical sensations and the wisdom that we hold in our bodies. So stay tuned for this amazing conversation as you consider the ways in which you may need to expand or contract to actually meet the life that you truly desire. Stay tuned. Every day there is a forgetting, and every moment there is the possibility of remembering. Remembering who you truly are, awakening to your body, to the inner world, to the experience of being alive. Here is where you find the beauty, the joy, and here is where you free your soma. I'm your host, Aimee. I'm here to help you move from pain to power, from tension to expansion, and ultimately from fear to love. Hello, Danelle. It's so nice to finally meet you.
It's so good to meet you.
I've been seeing your posts. I don't know, I don't know how I got connected to you through the internet, but I did. And I was like, oh wow, she's really cool and she's doing something really awesome. And oh look, she has a podcast. And so it just felt very natural that I wanted to like interview you and learn more about your approach because it's very parallel to mine. And I just think that the way that you show up is so authentic and real. And I do my best. I mean, we all kind of do our best to like be real on the internet, which is kind of this whole like oxymoron anyway, right? But I do feel like I've gotten to know you a bit just by reading your posts and listening to your podcast because of the way that you practice showing up. So I'm excited for this conversation today. I know you have so many beautiful pearls of wisdom to share with everyone. And I'd also love for people to just learn a bit about you and about your background and about where you come from because as I know, as a somatic healer or a coach or a facilitator, right? You come from embodied experience of what it means to be challenged. And to hear those stories for audiences, for people out there, it is vital. It is so important to know that even the person who's helping you, at one time had to be helped.
Ooh, that is so real. Yes. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I feel the same way about like how you show up. I also don't know how we got connected. Maybe it was through like Julia Wells's group. I'm not sure, but like I feel like you're a soul sister and I'm yeah, just super happy to connect. Yeah, my origin story. I was just thinking about this the other day because I was on another podcast telling this story and thinking about like how to like distill it. But, it started with just being a truly exquisitely highly sensitive child living in an environment that didn't feel safe growing up in my household. And just being so attuned to the energy and tension and feeling like I had to make myself small to not get in trouble. And then, like childhood stuff, we can't process it until we're older, like so just kind of holding that and not knowing how to necessarily describe it or process it when I was young kind of led me into in high school, like late high school. I got really sick. I got Lyme's disease and mono, and it was untreated for like a year and a half. I like went to doctors and they just didn't do the testing. They would just, like standard medical, Western medical gaslighting, just like, oh, just take some Motrin and rest it off, no testing. And I was just getting sicker and sicker and weaker and weaker. And I've been like thinking back on this a lot lately about like that specific time in my life because I started to build a lot of shame around like there's something wrong with me. Because like the doctors were telling me there's nothing really wrong and, just rest it off. But I was feeling like this, yeah, fatigue and foggy head, and like my energy was just being depleted. I was like, oh, I must not be motivated enough. I must not be like good enough. And at the time, I was a semi-professional soccer player, which is like a really weird, interesting facet of my story that I feel like I don't often talk about, but like, so I had that like career trajectory from like a quite a young age, like 16, 17. And so when I was thinking about heading into college, like I was thinking about, playing college soccer and like going professional quite quickly. And so we were in this like recruitment process, and that's when I started to feel sick and like have no energy, and I started to be able to not keep up with like my teammates, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's something wrong with me." And yeah, that time was so pivotal because I ended up getting on a bunch of medications finally when I got like diagnosed with those things. I had like the mono co-infection, that happens. I was like really sick at that point. I was bedridden for a month. I like almost didn't graduate high school. I had to quit my soccer career. Like I thought maybe for the time being, but it ended up being forever. And in that like liminal space of being bedridden, I really like kind of lost a lot of the identities I created for myself, not even being fully conscious that this was happening, but like looking back, like I became really depressed. And yeah, like I started to really pay attention, like after that point, that there had just been like multiple things, like yeah, the depression that then became like clinical depression, and I was on medication for that. And I reached a point with like my relationship to Western medicine. I don't have a bad relationship with Western medicine now, but I just reached a point that was kind of my turning point, like where I'm like, okay, I feel like I have to take responsibility for my health and well-being. Like clearly no one's going to really do it for me. No one's going to rescue me from like what I'm experiencing, but I felt like a sense of helplessness. And then all of this kind of childhood trauma started to come up. I started to kind of realize that I had trauma, that even is what I was experiencing. Started to have, all kinds of symptoms. Then I went to college and experienced sexual assault and a number of like traumas like right in a row within like a year or two. Like one of my best friends died, and yeah, it was just a lot. And like I felt like I could not process it. And then alongside that, I just had like a deep sense of grief, and I started to think about my childhood, and I got diagnosed with like PTSD and kind of went that route. And yeah, I feel like I've been through a lot. It's been like a winding road to kind of get to the place I'm at now, like in my career, like doing this as a career, as like a
Right.
somatic coach and like trauma-informed coach. But it is the perfect thing because that like lived experience, it taught me from the inside out, like how to
Yeah.
meet myself, how to regard myself in these places of dysregulation, and then like noticing all of the shame stories that have built up that I thought were just like me, something wrong with me, I'm broken, I need fixing. And like my trauma responses made me think, oh, I must just be weak. Like attributing like sensitivity to like weakness, and just thinking, oh, I'm just like overreacting. And so on this journey, like I found my way to a sense of like, fuck that. I went through like an anger period of like, fuck that. Like, I'm not overreacting. I'm having a reaction, a very normal reaction to stress and to, yeah, my circumstances. And I kind of went through like a whole like shedding period where I was like doing a lot of seeking and exploration with therapy, EMDR, somatic work, coaching, Chinese medicine. I went and like got a degree in Chinese medicine. I did like a nursing degree, trying to just like fit in like all of these pieces to just understand for myself, like how do we essentially heal and like get back, like restore, like get back to, or not even back to, but find that place within us that is eternally safe,
Hmm.
that regards all of our emotions and sensitivities and experiences with like so much like just love and approval and observation, like essentially
Right.
reparenting, like holding yourself in all of your experiences. And also like a real through line for me, this is the last thing I'll say before I like pause, but like a through line was learning to express myself. Like I held in
Mhm.
all of that pain and it was like killing me from the inside. Like I
Yeah.
went through, like I tried to kill myself a couple of times and I was like self-harming and like I felt like I was a burden. Like I couldn't tell people what I was experiencing or the pain because whatever. Yeah, like I didn't think they could hold it or I didn't think it was like appropriate. I had a lot of like conditioning around keeping quiet, keeping small. I'm going to get punished. And I kind of forget like what the actual sequence of this was, but I started to just give myself permission to start speaking about like what I was feeling and experiencing and going through. And I feel like that started to like open my channel to connecting with some like amazing people who like could hold the space and
Yeah.
that completely changed my life. It was like this outpouring of so many years of like suppressing, holding in, getting sick, like the depression and anxiety and just feeling trapped in my emotions and also a lot of shame. And so, yeah, I'll pause there.
Did you know that your muscles are holding on to thoughts, memories, and feelings? If you have a tight neck or back, you're not just getting old, you're experiencing a buildup of tension from the life you've lived. Most people don't know this, but there is a part of your brain that can reverse and prevent chronic tension. When you relax your muscles, you not only move better and regulate your nervous system, but you also free yourself from the grip the past has over your body. So you can live with freedom, confidence, and enjoy your life now. How does that sound? Join me, Aimee Takaya, and discover what my clients are raving about at youcanfreeyoursoma.com. Yeah. Oh my God. Like it's incredible the things that people can live through,
Oof.
you know, and the way that it can stack, because the stacking that you were kind of speaking to of like boom, 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 all these things kind of bombard you in a row, like the life circumstances. I went through something very similar, when I was around, yeah, between like ages 17 to like
Ooh.
19, 20,
Yeah.
and it's a very interesting time, and some people it happens later in life. There's a bombardment of like all these circumstances and life things that just hit you really hard, you know? And what I find so kind of inspiring and fascinating about your story is like the level of curiosity and willingness to explore that I could kind of see demonstrated through the story, the ways you kind of reached out, even within, allopathic medicine and becoming a nurse, or, let me look at all other alternative medicine systems, and just that willingness to explore
Yeah.
is a sign that like you weren't giving up on this healing process. You know what I mean? You were persevering, you were continuing, even as it continued to be really hard and challenging. The piece you said about learning to express and speak it out, I think that it's a huge theme today. Like I just had a client, I was going to look it up because she asked me to text her the words that I said on the call that we kind of came to, about what happens to our bodies when we don't express. And I mean, you already said it. You get sick, you suppress things and you hold in all of your pain, it becomes manifest in your body. In the same way that when you speak it out loud and you say, "Hey, I'm suffering here," or you speak to the depth of the experience that you're having, right?
Yeah.
That attracts over time, not immediately right away. In the beginning, it probably triggers the shit out of some people just to hear you say it, the thing that they're not saying, right?
Yeah.
But it will attract the people who can hold that space for you as you experienced, and as our clients experience. They say it. They say, "Hey, I need help with this. Hey, I'm in this," and then they call us in and we can meet them there, right?
Yeah.
But let me see. I want to read this to you. It was okay. this was more specific, this client this morning, about learning to say no, because we were having this whole thing about like how difficult and painful it is for her to say no when and even though it's really really a no, right? And we were exploring kind of the way in which the world around us, unless you say no, the world takes it as a yes. Everything other than no is yes, which is like getting changed, I think, in the conversation most recently, with the Me Too movement in the last few years and stuff. But if you think about it, it's really screwy because that's how we were all raised. Anything other than a direct no is yes.
Wow, that's mind-blowing.
Right. So this was in like total response to that. But I think the last part is speaking to what you were speaking to. We determined learn to feel when your no is there and learn to say it. So your body does not become the martyr of your unsaid words.
Wow. God, that's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about that Gabor Mate book. I haven't read it, but it's on my shelf.
We can
When the
absorb
body,
things.
yeah, exactly. Just the title, When the Body Says No, I'm like, oh yeah. When the body says no, the body will speak. And like to me, and I'm curious about your orientation towards this, but like the body to me is the unconscious mind. Like it's one and the same, and it speaks to us through sensation, through feeling. Like it has a language all its own, and we're so kind of heady in our culture. I was having these sessions I was doing for a while called like head to heart sessions,
Mm.
and just kind of that like the metaphor of like dropping from your head to your body already can just bring up discomfort, like so much discomfort. And I think about like that no. And what you were saying is so interesting about like the world will think it's a yes, unless you say no. And that is so true. That is so true. And I think a lot about like, I do a lot of work with my clients around the victim triangle. Are you familiar with
I
that
am.
framework?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Maybe you can
And
explain
I
it for our
like,
audience, like as maybe they're not, so you can give a little preface
yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
I'll do it briefly. So I have it like in front of me on my wall. So I'll just be kind of like referencing it. But yeah, I think I work with women, and a lot of women, we're just taught that like, our no is too much, too harsh. It's not going to be respected anyway. We're going to get punished if we say no. Like there's so much already just in the nervous system, like around our no. And no is just like a neutral, word term, like idea, but there's so much weight to it as women. And we hold that in our systems. And like, even just the other day, my partner and I got into a fight, and which is just like really rare for us. And like, I hate conflict. It's something I'm always like working on with myself in like a relational context about how my body will speak. And this goes along like the expression. It's like my body will speak. And I used to just hold it in and it would make me sick. Now I cannot hold it in. And it's kind of frustrating in some ways because I'm like, I have to have this conversation. But it's beautiful to have like the safety of this beautiful, loving relationship I'm in to be able to express. And I come against like those parts of me that are like, oh my God, how do I say what I need to say? How do I set this boundary or express this thing without like hurting him? It's like, the whole managing of like feelings comes in, that's kind of like old stuff. And I think about the victim triangle and like off of it, my favorite interpretation of being off of it. So on it, we have rescuer, persecutor, victim. And essentially, like, if we are in any one of those positions, we just keep spinning. Like, we take on the victim position and then move into like persecutor. And we could do this with ourselves, with like parts of us, or with other people, or both. And so it's called the victim triangle or the drama triangle because it's literally when we are in some kind of like internal drama,
Right.
some kind of discomfort, dysregulation, we are in taking on one of those roles. We're being critical, judgmental of others or ourselves, oppressing, injuring, punishing, or we are acting as a victim, so helpless, life is against me, just like in that like suffering, like I don't know what to do place. Or we're in like a rescuer position. So we're like martyring ourselves, we're like, we're asserting that we know what other people need and like trying to give that to them before they ask for it. And yeah, the dynamic is brilliant. Like understanding this dynamic has been so life-changing for me. Like anytime I'm in drama, I'm like, okay, where am I? What role am I inhabiting? Am I trying to rescue someone here or myself from my feelings? Am I, judging, criticizing, or am I like being just helpless? And just identifying it is often enough to kind of start to observe. And I also think about like I did this class yesterday called feral tapping, where we were embodying like the persecutor and the victim in like our tapping sequence, our like emotional freedom technique, which is like a whole other
Yeah.
thing. And we were giving those parts like space to express. And so I think that's super important. Like coming back to the unshaming, it's like we don't want to shame these parts of us. Like I think we can judge the judge, like we can criticize ourselves. It's like we're still on the triangle if we're like judging the victim or judging the critical part. And so there's kind of this like this sense of neutrality for these parts of us. My favorite interpretation off of the triangle is like the observer. So like the victim becomes the observer who's just watching, paying attention, curious. Love that word curious and love how you used it a couple minutes ago to like define kind of how you were perceiving my experience. The rescuer becomes the nurturer, which to me in this context, the nurturer is like it's not so much that kind of over-giving maternal.
It's responsive.
It's responsive, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a support. It's like, what do you need? And it's also very trusting that that person or that part of you is resourced and there's no timeline, there's no like rush to like the rescuer is very much kind of in a rush to kind of get everything calm or like feel comfortable again or whatever. The nurturer is not on a timeline. Like they're like, what do you need? I can, if you want help, like I'm here for you. No rush, just encouragement, understanding, acceptance. And then the persecutor becomes assertive. And this is where like that no comes in. And what I work on a lot with my clients is like when you have a no inside of you, or you reach kind of like a nervous system edge where you feel yourself kind of tensing against something like, I don't want that, I don't like that. There's a difference between, I think we get this mixed up. It's like we think we're being a bitch too much, like harsh, like all those like fucking words
Yeah. Yeah.
that cause such a reaction in our bodies, like, oh, I can't be that. Versus assertive. Like you are within all of your rights, infinite rights to be assertive, like to let people know directly, hey, what you just said, like this is my reaction to it. This is how my body feels. I'm having like tension. I'm having like a resistance. This is going to be a no for me. Like that is your truth. There's something so powerful about standing in that like assertive archetype and claiming it for yourself. It's a place of honesty. It's not a place of judgment. It's just a place of this is where I am. And it also kind of signals to yourself that like it's okay that I'm here. Like it's okay that I'm a
Yeah. And I think like what you are saying about, it those things like a bitch or too much or it's going to be over the top. I think we sometimes give ourselves that label because it is how people may perceive us when we haven't been expressing and we start to express,
so
right?
good.
When we haven't been saying it, when people are used to us just kind of going with it and not saying things and not asserting anything. And then we're in that beginning phase where we're starting to do that. Other people may be like, whoa, this is so out of character for you. You weren't bothered by this last week, right? For those who are listening who are in that process right now, I know some of my clients definitely are where they haven't been saying things and then they start that practice, and I know also from personal experience, when you have been very suppressed and holding a lot of shit in for a long time, when you first start doing it, you have like a buildup. Like it's not just no right now to this thing. It's like no to all of these things that this thing reminds you of. It's no to all of the boundaries that have been crossed before. And so sometimes the no can come out a little bit crazy and over the top. And I just want to own that for myself, that, and even unshaming the too muchness and the bitch that can sometimes show up, because that part of you showing up, right, to protect you and wasn't even able to, was like locked in a cage, not able to protect you for those times when you were suppressing. I tell my husband earlier in our relationship, we've been together, we'll have our seventh wedding anniversary this June, which feels like a really big deal considering where we've come from. But,
Yeah.
you know, it was like really intense the first year and a half of our relationship. And part of it was because I had begun doing the somatic work at like a deeper level. And I would love for you to speak to kind of like, if you can remember back to when you started really digging in and stuff started coming up. And so he got my no. He got my no deeper and harder and faster than any other man had ever heard my no.
Wow. Okay. We have so many parallels. It's amazing. Wow. Yeah. And 7 years is like, it's huge. I mean, I feel like in this day and age, like a long-term relationship like that, I mean, it is such a teacher. It's incredible. Like everything comes up. I've been with my partner 11 years, 11 years in August.
Yeah.
And that first year of our relationship, just like you, oh my God, like prior to meeting him, the relationships that I was drawn to were men who had a lot of, let's just call it like things, like a lot of their own traumas, a lot of things that like they were working through. So I took on the rescuer role and like the caregiver. So I never had to really like face my own, and that was like by design on like an unconscious level. I was absolutely doing that to protect myself from facing my own stuff. And when I got with my current partner, he was the most, grounded, authentic, attuned, like wise person who really like hasn't held a lot of, or has processed much of his trauma, or like it wasn't, I didn't have to rescue him, really, is what I'm trying to get to. So that role quickly dissolved. And in that like first year or two of our relationship, so it's interesting because that's kind of when I was like getting into, that's when I started to go to Chinese medicine school, and I started to like get really into like my path, and I found like somatics like pretty soon after, and started learning a lot about trauma and doing my own work and stuff. And yeah, we had a whole thing that came up where my body said, like my body freaked out over some conversation that we had that I won't go into now, but it was like he got my no in a very intense way. And I could not stop it from continuing to erupt
Mm.
inside of me. And like, bless his heart, like he was there. He was just there for it as an observer. Like that period of my life is really interesting. It's kind of like a void, like a black hole. I was having panic attacks. Like I was just like, my body was like, no, 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 no. And it was totally like a product of suppressed
Yeah.
no's from the past, from past relationships, from all kinds of things. And being in like the safety of this new relationship, all of my stuff started to come up, and it was so terrible for me. I was like, "Oh my God, I hate being the one who's like going through her drama. Like I want to be like the stable one in a relationship." That was always the archetype I wanted to take on. And so I forget your exact question.
I mean, I think we're comparing and contrasting. The question, I think you answered it, was like
Oh
the
yeah.
way that when you're early on in this process, right, it can come
Yeah.
out as this
Yeah.
explosion, this eruption, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like when we hear those words, in our brain, like, oh, I want to say something right now. I'm irritated. Oh, but you don't want to come off as bitchy. Oh, you don't want to be
Yeah.
too much. It's like that criticism inside might come from like a real place where we did explode and just freak somebody out. You know what I mean? Like it does come from like a real place. And so can we work to, and this is where maybe we can bring in this idea of unshaming, like unshame even our crazy ass bitch inside who is, you know, ready for a fight, right?
Yes.
Like she's there, we've met
Yeah.
her. She doesn't
Yeah.
have to come out at every time. We don't have to use her existence to suppress the things that are there that need to be said,
Yeah.
right? Because not every expression is that. As we practice this, right? Like we get more skilled, we have less of a buildup. We're respecting our own no more, and so it's not explosive,
Yeah.
right?
I love that so much. And God bless, like the crazy ass bitch. Like I love her so much. Like I really do at this point, like I find her to be quite adorable and like I have like such like a cozy feeling inside of me when I like think about that part of me because she is so powerful and she has like she knows what she wants. She is not going to stop for anyone. And so I feel like my relationship to her is so different now that I've really been in that like practice of the expression of her in various ways. And yeah, I remember your question. It was around like, yeah, like when you start to say no or you start to really kind of listen in and express, it is shocking for other people. And I think that's something like we all just have to accept. And I also think that there are many times where like we'll perceive that like this is going to be shocking, this is going to be too much, and then it's fine.
Yeah.
And that's all in like kind of learning how to communicate as well. I use like a lot of non-violent communication, stuff like that, kind of taking responsibility for my feelings, like shaking it out, like processing, like whatever I need to somatically before I come into conversation. But yeah, there absolutely is this shift that happens where like, and I think this is a fear for a lot of people, but I just want to say like lean into it because it's like a really beautiful, and there's no timeline, like you can take your time with it, but like lean into the alchemy that will inevitably have to happen when you are starting to express yourself. Like the thing I think that's happened in my life when I started to express myself is that there are certain people who just naturally like fell away from my life, and I just allowed them to exit with an openness. I feel like there wasn't a lot of pain for me in like that process because I couldn't have kept things in anymore anyway. Like
Yeah.
it didn't feel like an option for me anymore. And my heart was also like going through such like an expansive period that whoever dropped away, like I was in kind of already this acceptance of it. And that actually did like I went through like a grief period and continue to go through grief periods around it, but like can hold the grief with so much more reverence and like understanding and like space now. But like yeah, definitely went through a period just kind of thinking about like high school friends that I wasn't feeling super connected to anymore. I felt really sad about that, but like they also weren't reaching out to me, but I was like carrying this like burden and just being able to like let them go, like
Yeah.
was a huge breakthrough for me because I was just holding on to this thing that actually like it wasn't really mine to hold in like kind of trying to maintain these like friendships where and I was like, wait, it's not really coming from the other direction either. Like, why
It
do I feel
isn't. Yeah.
love? And that was just so freeing for me. And now I feel like the people that are in my life, like I just have the most beautiful relationships. Like I am so discerning about like who I spend my time with and I am good at just setting boundaries. Like if I don't have capacity for something, like I'll say that. But yeah, it's like it's created this kind of equanimity where, I went through that whole period with my partner, like no, 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 no. And he stayed and like we've worked through it and it's like made our relationship like really intimate in ways that like I never experienced in the past. And like we have this understanding and like this depth to our relationship. It like makes me, I feel like emotional talking about it because it really is so special. And it is through like that courage. Like intimacy,
Mhm.
it takes such courage. And we in order to have intimacy with other people, we have to be honest with ourselves and we have
Right.
to start expressing that honesty. Like it's intense.
Totally.
It's like the fire. I think of like the forest fire. It is intense, but it clears out and there's like there's so many nutrients in the soil after that that there's like that new growth that can come up and it's so beautiful.
Absolutely. I think that, kind of coming back to some of the, idea of our nervous system's capacity, right, for more
Mm,
wealth, more love, more pleasure. But it's like we have to also have the other side of it, right? We have to be able to have the capacity for the hurt, the
yep.
anger, the shame, the guilt, the confusion. Like we have to be able to hold that too. And I have found so many times in my business, right, in my personal life, that the key to having more of that love and intimacy or that wealth isn't just a cool mind, perception shift. That's part of it. That's usually a product of letting myself go where I don't want to go, letting
Yeah.
myself open the door I don't want to open, right? But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, that's really what it means because our nervous system is always looking for balance and we're
Yeah.
looking for equilibrium. And if there's a bunch of stuff piled up, like underneath the surface, we're not able to actually relax and open up more. There's like a block. And until we get through this heavy stuff, we can't relax deeper. And so we don't have capacity for more. It's in relaxing deeper and through getting through the heavy shit that's under the surface that we actually increase our ability to feel, to have, to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I think about this all the time. Like it's increasing our capacity in general is increasing capacity for aliveness. And
Yeah.
aliveness can feel terrible
It's so
and
terrible sometimes.
really hard
Yeah.
and really painful and crazy. And aliveness can feel joyful and wonderful. Like it's two sides of the same coin. Like if you want more wealth and pleasure and love, you cannot you cannot get those things without deepening your relationship to the opposite, our perceived opposite flip side of that. Like it is all the same. Our capacity, and this is why, like in like with my coaching that I do, like quite a bit of the focus, at least at first, is like, how do we sit with our pain? How do we sit with our pain without having to change it, fix it? How do we just be with it and let our bodies react to just being with it and form like a different relationship to our pain? Because it's just a feature of life. Like, especially if you're a highly sensitive, attuned person and you feel a lot of things, if you want more good things in your life, like, you have to be willing, like choosing to experience the depth, like the flip side, like the darkness. And this is where existential kink, I think, comes in really beautifully, like, which is a concept that I teach my clients. I'm certified coach in it. It's like essentially it's like an erotic somatic practice. So body based, we're feeling into sensations in the body, and we're literally taking that like dense lead, like the heaviness, the pain, and we're transmuting it into gold using the language of the unconscious mind, the nervous system, sensations in the body. So we're taking you from, for example, feeling, let's take kind of like a soft example. Let's say like sadness. So you might have like the experience of sadness and we attune to the body as like a pit in the stomach. It's just kind of this like still and unmoving pit in the stomach. And then we're just like, okay, can I be with that pit in my stomach? And we kind of create a lot of space around it. Like, can I just sit with that? And what happens when I just let myself feel and be with that pit in my stomach without trying to change it, run away from it, suppress it? And there might be a lot of silence and space and maybe some emotions that come up. And then just slowly and gradually, we start to kind of intentionally like start to move the sensations or let the sensation move, grow, blossom, open, express itself, it starts to kind of naturally open and change and shift. And then like we can bring it down into the genitals to kind of bring in like the pleasure sexual aspect, or we can bring it into the heart where it becomes like this glowing openness. And it's really an incredible, incredible practice. And there's never any pressure to like do the transmuting, but when you learn to do it, you can like do it over and over. And I was just doing it before this call. I had like a headache, which is completely gone now, which is amazing. But like I was just kind of laying in bed and I'm like, okay, I am willing to like allow the tension, the sensation of the headache to be here. I am even asking for it to become more intense, which is like a feature that I didn't mention. Like with that process, it's like the willingness to let it grow, like giving yourself that space. Because usually what we do is we suppress it and it creates tension, like it creates
Right.
more literal tension and pain. And so turning up the dial, really letting it be here, letting it grow, letting it grow. I'm willing to feel this. Give me more, give me more, give me more, kind of in like a sadistic way. And then what I noticed is like with that headache is like it heightened, like it became so in the forefront of my conscience that I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's intense. And it's like, I feel it here where I didn't before. And I like feel it here and it's like big and it feels intense, heavy, heavy, heavy. But I was like more, 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 like leaning in, leaning in. And then it just went away. It's like it took on, it like went through the whole life cycle instead of me being like, oh, I hate that I have a headache, kind of like unconscious in the back of my head. I have work to do. I feel like it's like, I don't want to have this headache, but it's here. It's kind of just being in that like liminal space where I'm not really processing it and I'm
Right.
like not facing it. I'm like not doing anything. I'm just kind of, it's just there. So really bringing it to the forefront and giving it the attention that it deserves and that it is calling for, allowed it to just process itself and like move out. So it's super interesting.
Very interesting. I think that sometimes when we hear this concept of like transmuting, our darkness into light or turning into gold, like we want to rush that process. And it sounds like, and we know both of us, I mean, anybody who's listening to this, who's done somatic work, there's no rush to that. There's not actually going to be like this end goal. There is the experience, and it will, your body will find its own conclusion in the experience, right? And even a conclusion is not an end. It is part of, as you said, a life cycle. And then there are things that will arise that are different things or the same thing again, to be healed again or to be recognized again, but when you're doing this kind of work, I think having facilitation, in the beginning, like is extremely helpful because holding space for yourself to move through that transmutation process is a skill, and it can be rather hard in the beginning to like not be in a rush, to not want to kind of skip over to the good part, to the end, or hurry up and, and we're so good at that. We're so good at like gaslighting ourselves. We're so good at like, hurrying ourselves or dissociating just enough to think that we dealt with it when we didn't quite. And I'm not digging on that either, because sometimes that's part of our respect for like our window of capacity, right? At that moment, or window of tolerance, I think is the term actually, right? Like there are times when it's like by yourself on your own, it's just like, that's enough. I'm ready to like close the book now, but I love how you kind of illustrated the possibility of letting something move through its intensity all the way through the end of
Yeah.
its need, and I feel like, that comes up a lot for me in like emotions. And it used to be that I would wallow and I would just like cry and cry and cry endlessly. My son created this really funny picture. It was like a guy crying. And it was like he's seen these things like on the internet, expectation, reality, right? So it's this guy crying and it says expectation and he's crying and he's like crying an ocean, like he's filled the entire ocean with tears. Reality, it just fills a coffee cup.
Yeah.
But that's what it felt like, like I would
Uh,
just be like crying and crying and crying endlessly. And now sometimes I lay down for my somatic practice and I go through some of the things that I do. And it's like there's like this like urge of like some kind of feeling that's coming up. And if I just really let it be there and I let it get big, as you're describing, like I'm loving this existential kink like format, but I feel like I do something kind of in similar intuitively. I just like let the emotion come. I like let myself make like some kind of crazy demon face. I might even like make a noise or something, and I just like let it bloom. It's amazing how quickly that emotional energy like dissipates and shifts and changes and
Yeah.
calms. It's like riding the wave or something.
Yes. And it's incredibly like ironic that our ego, and our egos only want good things, that our ego believes that suppressing the emotion or whatever is the thing that's going to get rid of it. It's like, no, but I only want to feel good things. But the emotion, it's a wave, it's fleeting, and it will stay inside until you let it be what it is and what it wants to be and how it wants to express itself. But it's like, it really is so ironic that our ego is like, let's like push this down and keep pushing it down. That's how we're gonna stop feeling it.
Yeah, it's what we were taught as children. It's how our busy parents with their busy lives taught us
Yes.
how to
Oof.
deal with stuff. And I mean, I catch myself doing it with my kids sometimes.
Okay.
Big meltdown emotions about getting in the back of the car because we have to leave and go somewhere, and he doesn't want to go yet. Sometimes it's like super inconvenient and I just want to like get in the car and be like, get over it, you're fine. And then I catch myself and I'm like, but that's not how I want to be, like ultimately, you know.
Yeah.
But we get trained in all that socially, I know, and it happens in school, it happens throughout our lives that, these emotions are pretty challenging and inconvenient for people around us who have never been taught tools either, you
Yeah.
know?
No, I'm trying to think of like how to even like phrase what I want to say about this. This is so good. Like, yeah, it's like the finite game versus the infinite game. Like our ego is looking for that quick fix, that quick jump out of the discomfort that we're feeling. And yeah, emotions can be so inconvenient in that context. But what's also inconvenient is like chronic fatigue from like never expressing things or like, emotions bursting out of you at an inconvenient time because you've held back so much. I mean, there are so many facets to this. Yeah, I think about how I love the conversation about like time, the body, like these parts of us that feel things strongly, like hold a lot of sensation in our bodies, they absolutely hate and will not respond to being rushed. They will just go deeper. Again, like the ego wants the rush to get out of the feeling, but the sensations, like the body, I find it's like it's very childlike. It needs to go through the whole thing, and the whole thing could be like 1 minute of truly feeling it, you know? But the ego is so resistant to even feeling it that even that feels like too long. But yet we'll spend like an hour, fighting like with our kid about something. Where I wanted to go with this was like in existential kink, a concept that I absolutely love is like your ego wants good things, which is what we mentioned. Your unconscious mind, we can say the word like wants. It's not a conscious want. So make sure to not gaslight yourself if like you're thinking about this practice or like read the book or, whatever. But like our unconscious minds, our bodies want everything, like the buffet, the operatic buffet of a human experience. Our unconscious minds just like work in sensation. And those two things, like the unconscious desires of experiencing the whole spectrum of what it means to be a human on a sensational level, versus the ego's desires for things only to be good all the time. I think about how like so much of my work that I do with my clients is around like finding that bridge, like a through line, like allowing the unconscious and conscious minds to meet and like develop a friendship instead of like this antagonistic relationship. And this is kind of the whole practice of EK and like philosophy of it. It's like if you can get on the side of your shadow, of your unconscious mind in its desires to want the full spectrum of the human experience, then in those moments of pain, you can like lean in a very different way and be like, okay, what parts of me are actually wanting this?
Yeah.
You can like explore that. It's really interesting because it does like I think about the victim triangle, like it takes us from the victim helpless place of like, I don't want this to a place of like observation. Curiosity is such a good word. It's like, what parts of me are actually like addicted to this experience of pain, attached to this experience, feeling like this kind of pain is protecting me in some way. Like,
Right, right.
how am I choosing this and how can I get on the side of that?
And also, like, I love this. It's wonderful. It's reminding me of the way that we can have beliefs or archetypes that we're unconscious to, that we're playing out. Like, I know for me, as you're describing this, I'm thinking about the ways that I've noticed, like, I'm like, oh, okay, this kind of anxious, like I have to go do something and it's the deadline and I've got to like hurry and get it done. And I'm like, why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening? What is this about? And I realized at a certain point, I'm like, there's part of me that gets fulfilled by overcoming something and being like the brave warrior who like slays the dragon and like saves the day. And I get to do that for myself when I don't have my shit together, is kind of the conscious story I have about like, oh, you didn't have your shit together enough and now like you're late for everything and you're like scrambling to get it done. But it's funny because my husband, he almost like, I'll get all flustered and upset. He like is almost having fun. Like he's literally like almost having fun as we're scrambling to get to the airport or something and not sure if we're going to make it. He's like practically grinning. And I just recognized that like, oh, this could be part of the adventure of life, or this could
Yeah.
be a thing that I shame myself for and make myself wrong for.
Uh,
Right.
I love that so much. It's so real. It's like that hero's journey that you describe of like I get to be like the brave one, like the warrior. That's it. That's it right there. Like I think a lot about how relief is like it's kind of an underrated, amazing thing to feel, and we can't have relief if we don't have like suffering and
Or
stress.
struggle. Yeah. Yeah.
So we play out these like, I think about like if you were to watch the movie of your life, no one wants to watch a boring movie. And there are some people who are more interested in not watching a boring movie, like myself. And so it's kind of this natural like tendency to like seek, dopamine drama on an unconscious level. On a conscious level, I'm like, no, I don't want that. I'm like unconscious to it. But when I started to notice how I was perpetuating these looping dramas, I'm like, okay, there is a part of me that's like getting off on this in some way. It's that hero's journey. Like I get to, yeah, just like you said, I get to like be that warrior. I get to like go through the fight of it so that then I can like win. It's like a challenge. It's like there's something so juicy in the experience of going through something, even if in the moment you hate the pain, like the whole story arc, like I would watch that movie. And so like I'm creating that movie like
Yeah.
inside
Yeah.
myself to live out. It's so fascinating. And like once we become like awake to that happening inside of us, then we can do something about it. Like then we can start to, and EK, I love it because it's like it's all about pleasure. And pleasure is like the opposite of trauma. Trauma is like that state of tension and stress and closedness. And EK comes in and it's like, what if we could enjoy this? Like, what if we could give ourselves the chance to enjoy the tension that I'm feeling, like the drama of it, the intensity of it. And I think like there's something so romantic sometimes about like deep sadness. Like it's a
Mm.
state that so much creativity is born from and so much like expression if you let yourself really channel it. And sadness is just one. Like all of those emotions are so like rich with so much like
There's nutrition there.
totally there's so much nutrition there. And if we can really own that in those moments where we feel like we're trying to kind of push something away and instead be like, there's something pleasurable here for me. Like, can I find it? Can I feel it on a somatic level? And it's very taboo. Like, this goes against, you know, what we're taught in so many ways. And it feels like it rubs up against that ego, you know, it's like, no, but I'm in pain. No, but I'm suffering. And what I say about EK is like you always want to start really small. Like you don't want to go to your like biggest trauma ever and like try to experience pleasure with that. Like no, no, no. We need to like process the grief, process the shame, like really like gentle first and use it on small things, like maybe something your partner did that like caused irritation inside of you. Where is the irritation? Can I actually experience this irritation as like a little glimmer of pleasure? Like where's the like electricity in my body that's like experiencing itself as irritation? Can I play with that? Can I move it? Can I like I find that I end up like laughing and same with my clients, like it's such a beautiful, like humor-filled practice sometimes where like you come in crying and you like end up laughing because it's just funny. Like life isn't as serious as like a lot of parts of us like to believe it is. And we really have so much power with transforming our relationship to our experiences.
Absolutely. And again, like this really reminds me that it's the key, in my own journey to all of that like abundance and wealth and prosperity. And you know how they say with all the kind of manifesting jargon, like that you have to act as if it's already there. You have to like, oh, it has to already, you have to believe that it's already there. Well, sometimes when you allow yourself to come into your full aliveness, right? And be in that state of, whatever it is, like frustration, despair, like sad, grief, right? Like extreme sadness, whatever it is, there's this like way that everything becomes high definition. And you get to actually see how a lot of times for many of us, there are ways that we have the wealth, the love, and the pleasure that we are seeking. We have it. It's there inside of us already, you know? And of course, there's degrees to which we have that, and there's degrees to which we can look around and point to our material world and say we don't have that. You
Yeah,
can be in, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, right? And still feel a sense of wealth because at the end of the day, you do have food on your table one way or another. You do have like cute clothes that you can wear, right? But it's not just about like having those things, it's about can you feel them? Can you experience them? And that's where experiencing the heavy stuff opens your ability to feel what's actually there, to look in the mirror and appreciate what you see rather than be kind of dead to it. Because we can
right,
have and have and have all the things and we can pay off our debt and we could feel nothing.
right. And oftentimes, like the real thing on that unconscious level that we are seeking when we're desiring more and more and more is the experience of longing. Like
Yearning.
that's,
That's
yeah,
romantic too, isn't it?
yes, it's so romantic.
So
It's like
old school romantic.
totally, I know. It's like the desire itself, like, can we give ourselves permission to desire the desire itself instead of kind of thinking it's like the thing like when we get it then we're going to feel fulfilled because
Right.
it's not how it goes. It's like the trick of the universe.
It is so funny. I don't know if you've ever heard of this band. You seem like someone who's probably heard of this band. Do you know the Magnetic Fields?
Actually, yeah, I feel like I have heard of them.
Okay, so they have this album, 69 Love Songs, that's like 69 songs about love. And it's like a very awesome concept album. And a lot of the songs aren't happy. A lot of the songs are forlorn and sad and, dramatic and all the things, right? And I like listened to them a lot when I was in my early 20s. And then I stopped listening to them for a period of time. And then I was like listening to them again after many years now of being like married and in a like, stable, secure relationship, all of that. And I like was transported back to like a younger self that was in that new
Yeah.
relationship dating thing that I said I hated, that I didn't like,
Yeah.
that was like, oh, I met this person and I kind of like them and I don't know if they like me, and like, oh, we went on a couple of dates and like, oh, like we're involved, but like, are they going to go, how far are they going to take, like the whole drama. I was like transported back to that through those songs, and I was like, oh yeah, like I don't really, that doesn't go on like in the same way anymore now that I'm married. Like that's not a thing. And I remembered how miserable I was. And then I almost missed it. I remembered how miserable I was. And then I was like, but that was also kind of fun.
Yes, absolutely. That's funny you mentioned that because just last night I like literally went through all of my Facebook pictures from like I don't even know how like 20 years ago. Like I was like the first pictures from 20 years ago. That's crazy. And as I was going through it, I was just like feeling, the little like sensation imprints, memories in my body. And it's so interesting because like after I finished like scrolling through, it's not like I felt that great, like I feel like it's like, but there's something in me that wanted to feel like to just catch like a little glimpse of whatever like those like the dramas that I like went through. It's like past relationships and like various things. It's really interesting. Like when we like really own like when we give ourselves permission to like enjoy our experience of whatever flavor of suffering, whatever, like, and I always think of sensation, like beyond the emotion, there's sensation. Sensation lives in a non-dual
Yeah.
realm. It's just a sensation of
Pure.
energy. It's pure. And that's really what I try to connect with my, to my like teaching my clients this and like with myself, it's like, where's the sensation beyond any stories of shame, beyond
Yeah.
any stories of like, oh, I shouldn't have liked that or like blah, blah, blah. Can I just enjoy the sensation for what it is as a part of my life force? And when I do that, it's like there's this shift from like heaviness and like non-enjoyment to like my heart just being light as a feather. And that's like to me like an ultimate goal is to have this like lightness. Like when I look at life and when I experience my experiences and when I meet other people, it's like there's just this it feels like integration. I don't know
Mhm.
like how else to describe it. It's just like, yes, I see the pain, I feel the pain, I can meet the pain with so much openness. It's not like a problem that like takes me down or makes me like spin out for weeks. There's so much more like power in it, but it doesn't avoid the pain, Like you're alive in it.
Yeah.
You're leaning into the experience of being a human instead of away from it.
As you're describing this, the kind of visual or a concept that came into my mind was like flow, like everything returning back to like your heart, like your circulatory system. It's moving and it's flowing and it's coming back home. And that feeling of lightness, I think, comes when things are circulating, when there's that kind of like full circle kind of energy. When we're blocked, when we're suppressing, when we're not letting ourselves feel whatever it is that's actually going on inside of us, we create these like fissures or these like dams, and things get, and then there's that not that flow, and so things start feeling really physically heavy in our bodies, right?
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about blood flow or whether we're talking about synovial fluid, or like whether we're talking about like prana, right? And so that feeling of kind of everything coming back home and everything coming back into like its flow is kind of the image that I got when you were describing that lightness that comes over when we actually let those things move and we don't stop them.
I absolutely love that. I love that so much. And the word that comes up to me is like processing.
Yeah.
Like processing, like being able to digest, metabolize, our experiences that we're like taking in instead of yet creating those dams. Like it's so easy. Like I really have so much compassion. I always tell my clients this. I'm like, you do not have to do this work. Like you always get to choose. You always get to decide when to opt into it and when to not. Like you get to put those dams up and then you get to experience like what the results of that are,
Yes. Yeah.
and then you get to see how it feels to like be open-hearted and like scarily vulnerable with, your boundaries and like your understandings of yourself and with your clear nose, but like really allowing your experiences to flow through you and your emotions, like really acknowledging that like they are so valid. It really does just unimpede
Yeah.
the flow. That's it.
Yeah. Excellent. I mean, this has just been such a powerful and fun conversation to have with you. I feel like we're on the same page about so many things, and you have a lot of tools that I can see that you use in your own physical somatic practice on a regular basis. And those are the best tools because you blend them with your other tools and they become just natural. They become just a natural way that you express, care and that you demonstrate how to move through things. I think that that is so essential as for anyone out there who's listening, and has been getting into somatics. Sometimes we want to like jump the gun and get a certification or just like jump into something. Somatics is different. It's a different field altogether for that because you basically are going to have to go through your own transformation process at a very deep level. It's not just something that you like step into and do a couple of courses and then you're done. It's going to change you because as I'm listening to you talk again, like Danelle here like has taken all these different somatic tools and synthesized them and embodied them in her own experience, right? In your own experience, and you practice it. It's a practice. It never ends, you know? And it's one of these things that gets deeper and deeper the longer that you're practicing it. Our ability to be present and embodied is endless. The number of neural pathways that our bodies can build, is endless. And so, I don't know, maybe you can tell me how you feel about this towards like we're nearing the end of our conversation. Somatics is just becoming more and more of a buzzword, which I love. I think it's a good thing. And I feel like people kind of, they got to know like the full depth of what they're in for, because this is not mindset work. Like this is going to take you to the edge of things. This is going to take you to places sometimes where you're going to need that additional support. You're going to need that community. You're going to need to open yourself to receiving that to get through the stuff that comes up, right?
Exactly. And yeah, the last thing I'll say about that is like, yeah, I would literally never take a client through some kind of process if I haven't deeply done it myself and know that it like
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like I wouldn't be myself if I did it any other way. But like the last thing that comes up to me is like, yeah, when I really started doing like the somatic work, I had to come face to face with what does it feel like to be truly present with my body as it is, with whatever's going on with me, and is extremely uncomfortable often to truly be present with what's going on. And that's okay. That's how it should be. I think we have this idea that presence should be this like oneness, enlightened experience. Then we think we're doing it wrong if like we feel crazy or like our monkey mind is going everywhere, where we feel like pain or resistance. And it's just not true. Like presence is the thing that allows us to meet ourselves where we are. And where we are often is the result of years of suppression.
Yes.
And so, just for anyone listening, this is a gift that you're giving yourself. Also, like Aimee said, it's like it is a lifelong, it's a practice that you will have and dip into your entire life. As long as you have a body, life is always lifing. And like really orienting yourself, I think it's really important to like reorient ourselves in like the wellness space, like coaching and whatever, to like there's not one thing that's going to save you from the human experience forever. You are having a human experience. Like, and there's something so devastating and beautiful about that. And like, how can we play with that? How can we play with our time on earth, play with the sensations, like learn, like slurp up the knowledge, integrate it, That's truly like to me, it's like it is devastating on some level. It's like we want to be perfect. We have all these like ideas of like being in this perfect place. But what I will say is like, as someone who's processed a lot of her trauma, it does get better as you deepen
Mm.
your connection to yourself. It builds self-trust. Like there are all these things that I like didn't really have an expectation around like the results of like doing the somatic work for so many years that have just like landed. And it's really beautiful and surprising, like what you'll find in your,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And there's so much opening that occurs when, kind of if you're allowing what has been suppressed to move and to flow and to not be stuck in you anymore. Now you're opening up all this spaciousness literally in your body and in your body consciousness for new things to occur, for new patterns to be developed or remembered, right? And that's again kind of with like the theme of this conversation about our nervous system and how it needs to be able to expand and contract and open and close. We need to be able to say yes to life and we need to be able to say no, right? And allowing that dance to happen inside of you is part of what we would call, I guess, abundance, right? And prosperity. It's what we would call like our growth and our, all of the things that we're like after in life. It's just that we think we're going to get it just by being over here in what's good, but it's like, oh no, it's going to include like the other side too, because the other side was there all the time. It was just what we were unconscious to, right? And what was in the way of all of that aliveness and juiciness and love that we were seeking.
So good. So good.
Wow. Well, it's just been such a pleasure to connect with you. I love this conversation. I'm so excited to share this conversation. If you have been inspired by anything that you've heard from Danelle, definitely check out the show notes and you'll find her social media handles. You'll find her website. Did you have like a little offering in there that you want to mention?
I did send you something, but yeah, you can find
Oh, I
me
see
on
it there. Yeah, there's a workbook.
yeah, a workbook. Yeah, that's actually a really good place to start. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at nurse_Nell, Nell. You can find me on Facebook at Danelle, Danelle, last name Gal.
And you
And
have a podcast. Tell
a
them about your,
podcast. Yeah,
yes,
a podcast called Too Human with Nurse Nell. It's like my favorite thing ever. Yeah, definitely go check that out. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
right on.
Yay.
Yeah, wonderful. Do you have any last words for our audience before we close?
Whew. The thing that's just coming up to me right now is like trust in your timing. I think that's just so important. Like, trust in your timing and at the same time be curious. Be curious about like what your ego says the right timing is versus like if you are feeling a pull to this kind of work, trust that. Like follow it, become curious, right? Like follow your impulses to explore. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, that resonates for me. I felt like I needed to hear that. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Yeah.
Hey,
We'll
thank you so
talk.
much.
Oh, my pleasure. Yes. And let's talk again soon.
Would love to.
Hey there, friend. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I would love to hear your thoughts. Follow me on Instagram at Aimee Takaya and send me a DM about this episode. I'd like to thank you for being part of this somatic revolution. And if you'd like to support the podcast and help more people learn about somatics, consider leaving a review or a rating. And finally, if you'd like to have the experience of relief in your tight hips or back and learn to understand what your body is really saying to you, visit youcanfreeyoursoma.com. I can't wait to share with you what is truly possible. Bye for now.